Hi, everybody. It's George LaRocque at WorkTech, and we've got some exciting industry news. You can see I'm joined by Daniel Chait, the CEO of Greenhouse. They announced an acquisition today of Interseller. And my first reaction was, who and what do they do? And as I dug in with this deal, I got pretty excited about what it means for Greenhouse's customers and the market. So I'm excited. Daniel, welcome. I'm excited to hear more today.
Thanks, George. Yeah, I'm excited to be here and talk to you about this deal. It's really neat.
Yeah, clearly Interseller is sourcing, and we'll get into what they do and how it fits. But I'm always curious, what brought you to look at Interseller? Why did you do this deal, and I guess why now?
Yeah, I mean, I think first, just the space in general. I feel like we saw a big opportunity, both in terms of the value to our customers and to our business, as well as the kind of strategic fit with what Greenhouse does, for us to just play a bigger role in how our customers source candidates. I think, as you know, Greenhouse has kind of an end-to-end recruiting platform, from finding candidates all the way through hiring and then onboarding. But in some areas, the product is deeper than others. And we thought, sourcing and finding candidates is becoming more important to customers, both because, the competition for talent is becoming, is not slowing down, is increasing. And because as customers place increasing emphasis on diversity, one of the important tools that they use is they rely less on just like waiting to see who applies. And they pick up on the fact that they want to get on the front foot and go out there and find people proactively and contact them. That gives you a lot more control over who's in your pipeline and who your candidates are. And so we had our eye on this space for a little while for those reasons.
Yeah, I love that you went to diversity. And I know that your investor, TPG, is it the Rise Fund? Is that right? You're held accountable to make sure that you're having a positive impact socially on the world.
You got it. It's not fluff. So, I have to answer for it at board meetings. So
yeah,
seriously, yeah.
Yeah. So sourcing's one of those topics where, depending on who I'm talking to, one leader, talks about sourcing, and they're talking about all avenues of candidates coming in. And others talk about like the Google wizards who write Boolean strings and, sit in dark rooms and drink coffee and, find that hard to reach. And there's a spectrum, right? And where does Interseller fit in that world?
Yeah, I mean, all of these types of like recruiter jargon, whether you're talking about a word like CRM or sourcing, like it's all kind of complicated and jargony. So just to maybe boil it down for a minute, what Interseller does that we were looking to do, that solves the customer problem we're focused on, is really in the area of kind of like proactively identifying and reaching out to specific candidates or prospects, building a relationship with them, and ultimately getting them to become an active candidate in your pipeline. And so kind of the way it works, there's tools for like finding candidates and discovering their contact information and sort of, building out their profiles. There's tools for creating kind of campaigns and rules-based cadences to reach out to them and produce logic to know like what do you want to say to them next based on the conversation that's already proceeded. Then it puts that all together into a single searchable database across the ATS and the CRM, so that you've got all your prospects and candidates in one place. And then the ability to report and run analytics on that end-to-end funnel to know sort of how it's all happening. So that's really the focus of Interseller's offerings and what we're doing with CRM.
Yeah, and it runs campaigns, is what I understand as well. So once you see a candidate, click to bring them in, that can be all automated. That campaign cadence.
That's right. And you build out different kind of logic and different kind of, templates for if you say this to the person and they don't open it or they don't respond, then say that. If they do, here's where we go with it. And so you can deliver quite personalized messages to people at scale in a way that is really effective and efficient with your time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I briefed with your co-founder earlier today with John Strauss, and I said it to him. I was saying, you know, I don't know Interseller, and it turns out there was a good reason for that. They've spent a lot of time in the third-party recruiting and staffing world, which it's a good place to have customers take you through your paces to learn sourcing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of really interesting. I mean, we really did our homework on this. You know, we knew what we were looking for from a product perspective. And to your point with Interseller, they've got a brand and they've got customers in the corporate recruiting world, like our customers. But they have also a big business in kind of these third-party agency recruiters who a large part of what those people do is sourcing. I mean, they're paid largely by their customers to go out there and find net new prospects, build a relationship with them, and get them interested in jobs. And so the job of an agency recruiter is kind of like a high-powered version of what an in-house recruiting team does, and increasingly more like what they are doing and kind of where the world is headed. And so those workflows are almost like more powerful than what I think corporate recruiters have been typically used to, and is fairly cutting edge. But is increasingly what they're wanting. And so as we kind of considered and surveyed the field, interestingly enough, we came across Interseller because one of our own executives had used Interseller in his own search as he was looking for engineers. And so he was just kind of looking to power up his own team and augment what we were already doing internally. Found this thing, loved it, had a lot of success in sourcing and hiring candidates for our own internal engineering team. And so that was really how we first came across it. It was being used internally by a hiring manager at Greenhouse. And as we dug in, we realized like, hey, these folks have actually really kicked it up to the next level in terms of email deliverability, which is a huge issue in this world. A lot of like ATS mails just go to spam. And getting those actually through to the inbox is a big job and kind of a dark art in its own right. And just like the workflows that they had built at Interseller were really sophisticated and nice to use and kind of modern. And so it really did catch our eye from that standpoint.
Most people probably wouldn't key in on this, but that's the second story I've heard from Greenhouse about an engineering leader going above and beyond in the recruiting, like the tactical effort, strategic effort of recruiting their team. I can't remember, it was at one of your analyst days. I can't remember the story, but I can honestly say there's I talked to all the vendors. I've never heard that story from an engineering leader anywhere else. This is the second one. I find that interesting, something about your culture and what you're thinking about.
Well, we don't make a secret of it, George. I wrote a book called Talent Making, which talks about the role of business leaders and managers in hiring. And you know, we practice what we preach. So all of our leaders across the company play a very active role in hiring, and that's as it should be at every company. Yeah.
Well, I know that to be true and not just a shameless book plug. But your book, I could probably find your book in a few seconds if
I mean, I'm not here to plug the book, but as long as we're on the topic, it is true. It is what we do, and everyone should do it and read the book. It'd make a great stocking stuffer, you know.
So let's shift gears to the customer, and I think it's important to think about, you know, not every B2B tech like Greenhouse is focusing on the same types of customers. So with Greenhouse, you have a lot of high growth companies. You have a lot of, you know, we use terms like, you know, enterprise and middle market, but you're going up to what most people would call like a high growth, larger middle market, you know, 5,000 employees, sort of that. And there's a big spectrum. So you've got like full stack recruiters, right? That are doing the rec intake, you know, looking at external candidates, running the ads, doing the sourcing, all the way up to where there might be teams of sourcing teams that are just focused on this. Is that fair? Like the reason you went this path versus going after a different type of sourcing technology is to fit the user profile?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about our customers, to your point, you know, they range from companies that may be 5 or even 10 or 15,000 employees, where they have maybe a global recruiting team with different regional strategies and dedicated teams for things like sourcing or interviewing and data and analytics, down to Series A companies that may have just hired their first recruiter.
Right.
And I think the unifying theme is that they're talent centric, is that they're companies who, rightly see the ability to hire the right person at the right time as a critical capability of their business. They don't think of it as administrative paperwork. And so for those type of companies, this type of idea that like they want to be on the front foot with getting out there and finding candidates, even when those candidates may not have already applied to a job, where there's passive talent or building relationships and hard to find talent in certain markets. Like that's how you get those people these days. There's so much noise and there's so many job applications out there that cutting through that and going directly to the people you want to talk to is how those modern talent-centric companies increasingly are working. Yeah. And as you said, there are other things that companies also do to connect with candidates, and some of that our customers do as well. But there are certain things that you might do if you're, say, a Fortune 50. GE runs like Super Bowl ads about what it's like to work at GE. Our customers typically don't do that sort of stuff, but sending 100 emails out to a highly qualified list of prospects and trying to get some of them to reply and start a conversation with you about an engineering role, like that's the kind of thing our customers are doing a lot of.
Right. So I understand what Interseller does. What will your customers see and when? Like, how's it going to work its way into the product?
Yeah. So the deal just got signed. So nothing
tomorrow.
Nothing changes tomorrow. Nope. Excuse me. Status quo for a little bit. But basically through the remainder of the year, kind of out in this quarter is where we're going to start baking out those plans and then looking to make announcement about roadmap, pricing, availability, transition plans. Like if you're already a customer of Interseller, these different things. People have a million questions. I've already started getting a lot of them. Those questions all be answered, and we're looking to roll the product out as part of the greenhouse offerings early next year. So probably somewhere along the middle to end of Q1 or early Q2.
Okay. And you've made some other moves recently around sort of the broader sourcing picture. Programmatic is something that you've got baked into the product now. How does Interseller, this acquisition and some of the other moves you've made, what does this mean about the overall greenhouse strategy for recruiting and for your roadmap?
Yeah, I mean, again, since we started the company in 2012, we've been saying that, our mission is to help every company to become great at hiring. And we constantly ask the question, what does our customer need to be doing better and how can we help that? And so as you're seeing, one of the big ways that we think our customers want to improve and need help is in how they find candidates and how they connect candidates. And so as you talked about, the job ad marketplace is a great step for our customers in like buying ads and connecting to many hundreds of possible ways that they could put job ads out there. Getting that all into one pipeline, tracking it all is a mess, and we really simplified that. I think there's still probably more even that we could do, but Interseller is another such avenue. And today our customers are using a variety of tools and kind of building a whole stack, and we feel like having that well integrated into the core of Greenhouse will help make that easier to use, help make it more integrated, help the analytics be better, help the user experience be better. And plus, just it's easier to buy. It's one transaction. It's like nice from the customer's perspective. So I think there's a lot of value in having that part be integrated together. And I think ultimately where this all paints the picture is, Greenhouse, we call ourselves a hiring software company. Hiring is a big job. There's a lot that goes on all throughout the organization, all up and down. And so I don't think we're going to run out of problems to solve anytime soon. And so it's just a question of what are we going to choose to focus on when, and how do we build the blocks in a way that, continues to drive progress.
Yeah, I know. I've already heard about the planning for Open and that's in the May timeframe. So what a great, it seems like the putting this into the greenhouse offering, along with programmatic and the kind of workflow that you're already driving, the focus on diversity. I'm just thinking about the kind of analytics and the kind of decisions you can help people make before they ever start recruiting, as well as through the whole process. I have no inside information, but I think it should be interesting to see what we get to see in May when the product roadmap comes out.
I'm so excited, George. I mean, we're going to be together in person, for the first time since pre-pandemic. We've got the room booked at Javits, and it's going to be awesome. Greenhouse Open has always been such a great time for us and for our customers to come together, share ideas, be inspired, learn.
Yeah.
And we've been doing great stuff online. I'm really proud of the open content that we put on this year. But getting together and doing it next year is going to be, I think, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll definitely see you there. Anything else coming up for Greenhouse that you want to share?
No, I mean, that's the big news for today is, now we get to, as you indicated, now we get to sit down and do the real nuts and bolts work of, bringing Interseller into the Greenhouse product family and getting it out to our customers. And we want to do that in a way that, is coherent and easy to use for our customers, that makes sense, and that gives them the best experience. And so that's going to take a little bit of work to do. But we can't wait for that day to come as soon as possible. And we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to thank you for this time. It's, I really appreciate you jumping on to do this, the day that you announced the deal, and giving us all this time.
Yeah, definitely great to be here. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, George, and excited to see where this all heads.
Yeah, me too. And thanks everybody for watching.